things. I very, very strongly believe in the promise of this technology. I think we have a lot of issues on the roadway today with drivers being distracted. 90% of crashes are due to human error. 90% are due to human error. If we can get the human out of the loop, or at least support them with better information, think of the lives we could save. We lost almost 40,000 people on our roadways in this country in 2017. That's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. So I strongly believe in the safety promise of this technology. However, I think we've got some opportunities to address in the near term. The first one is that these systems are not ready for prime time. We do not have a reliable driverless vehicle today. I don't care what the button on the Tesla says. It is not an autopilot system. It is a driver assistance system. It can help you do a better job as a driver by warning you when you're moving out of your lane or getting too close to something in front of you, but it won't replace you. We are not to the point of having a system that replaces the driver today in every situation. There are too many, the tunnel, the work zone, roundabouts. I want to see an automated vehicle negotiate a roundabout today. Can't do it. Those merges and diverges, it's just too much. We know they don't always identify pedestrians properly. There are some challenges to overcome. That's not to say we should abandon it. We just have to keep working, and we have to be realistic about where we are today. I think driver education is critically important at this stage of the game. When someone goes in and buys a new Volvo, how many of you have driver assistance features on your car today? A lot of you. They're really, really great. I don't have any. I have teenagers and I want them to learn to drive. I have none. But they're great systems, and we're already seeing improvements in safety thanks to those systems, so long as you don't put too much faith in them today. They're not there to drive for you, they're there to help you. And as long as we all remember that, I think we're going in the right direction. The other concern I have is that mixed fleet issue I talked about a few minutes ago. So, automated vehicles today, anybody have adaptive cruise control? You know, you set the cruise and it slows down and speeds up for you. So I had a loaner that had it, and I wasn't really used to it. Before I knew it, I was doing 40 miles an hour in a 55 zone because the car just kept slowing down, and I wasn't paying any attention. I mean, I was paying attention, but anyway. So the systems are designed to be pretty conservative at this stage of the game. Drivers are not particularly conservative, right? What do you guys do when you see a yellow light? Maybe not fair to ask you guys, but you're still drivers. What do? Speed up. What do you think an automated vehicle does? It stops. It follows the rules. All right, now, I'm not the world's best driver, probably. I tend to yell at cars around me. If you'd been with me on 81 yesterday, you would have had a treat. But we tend to be more aggressive than probably we should be. That 2-second rule we all learned in driver's ed, the automated vehicle actually follows the 2-second rule. The rest of us don't. We don't have any comprehension of what the 2-second rule is anymore, as proven by those vehicles that were willing to slip in between two tractor trailers at less than a 2-second headway. So I think we're going to have some conflicts. I think rear-end collisions are going to go up as our human-driven vehicles plow into the back of automated vehicles that have come to a stop at that yellow light. So just let's not give up. Let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater and say none of this is going to work. Those are growing pains that we just need to recognize are going to be there as we move through the technology development phase. All right, So you guys have talked a lot or heard a lot about data and data analytics. In Virginia, we're working really hard to expose our data. If nobody knows you have it, that can be a good thing, right? Because nobody then questions its quality or availability. But you don't get any benefit from it either. So we have created the Smarter Roads data portal, smarterroads.org. You too can log on and get an account. We're exposing all of our data to anybody who wants to see it. So our crash data, our volume data, our pavement condition data, all kinds of data is going into Smarter Roads. And the data sets that are included grow every day, well, almost every day. And it's free. Anybody who wants to can come in and access it. We believe that there's a lot of value in the data, that there's a lot that can be accomplished by looking at that data in new ways, but we know that we don't have all the ideas. So we're putting it out there. We're hoping that people will slice it and dice it and integrate it in ways that we haven't thought of to make our information stream richer. One of the ways we're doing that is through a series of hackathons. Not hackathon as in to hack into our system, but hackathon as in slice the data up, look at it in new ways, and tell us what you come up with. So we've had a series of these hackathons. We bring people together for a couple of days. They start with a pitch. They have an idea. They form teams. Some of them come as a team. Some form teams on site. And they have basically 24 hours to do whatever they can do. And then we judge. And we pick the winners, pick the best ideas. We've had actual cash prizes, which is really great. The first one I went to, we had some corporate teams, but the last several have been mostly university teams. And it's really exciting to see these cross-discipline teams come together and, not knowing much about the data at all, look at it in ways that I would never have thought of. For example, we had an application developed by a university team that took crash data, speed limit data, volume data, and pavement condition data, that was the one I hadn't thought of, and put it all together to develop an application that provided bike riders information about the quality of a route based on those factors. I just thought it was really, really innovative. So the whole point of the hackathons really is to expose that data and hopefully to get people to develop things for us that we didn't think of. And some of them we intend to pick up and work with those folks further to really get that application up and running. To promote existing data products and open data in general, and then to develop and strengthen relationships. So we're really hoping that we can build those connections between the private sector, academics, and ourselves through these events. So I have just a few thoughts, because as I was reading the speaker instructions, it really hit hard on give something people they can take away. Give something to the people that they can take away. So these are my tips for you. So I think it was really important for VDOT when we started down the connected and automated vehicle path to keep it focused on things that were measurable, things that would make a difference for VDOT in delivering its mission. So as you think about technology and technology deployment, make sure that you're solving a real problem. It may not be a problem that you see today. It may be a problem you know is coming, but make sure it has a purpose. There are a lot of shiny objects out there. Not all of them are beneficial. So look for the things that can really make a difference. Think about innovation every day. The slide earlier about that's the way we've always done it. I've been in research for 25 years. I cannot tell you how many times I've heard that line. We'll go to someone and say, hey, we'd like you to try this new idea. Oh, we don't do it that way. That's not the way we do it. But be innovative. And innovation doesn't have to be technology. It can just be thinking about a problem in a new way. So definitely, I would encourage everyone to try to be innovative every day. And look for opportunities for partnerships. We have lots of really great partners in Virginia. Our universities obviously are a big one for us, but we also have a number of private sector partners that are instrumental in helping us move our program forward. So look for those opportunities. Obviously, you guys have been networking here all week. What a great opportunity to come together and learn from each other. You never know when something you might say to someone randomly will spark an idea for them, and then off they're going with something really, really cool. So remember those partnership opportunities and think about them as you go through your day. That's all I have, but I'm happy to answer any questions. I think I think you're sharing the slides.
Yes, we'll have a S3 bucket for them.
So the links to those videos are in the slides, so make sure you check out the Seat Suit because it really is very funny.
I have a quick question.
Okay.
What are the Virginia State Troopers going to do if they're not giving speeding tickets on 81? If you have autonomous vehicles doing the speed limit? Because I get dinged every time.
Oh, that's a really good question. So one of the things that that people are concerned about when we talk about connected vehicles, early in our connected vehicle experience, I gave a talk to a Rotary Club in the Shenandoah Valley, pretty conservative area of Virginia. And I had a man follow me out to my car after the presentation, fussing at me about how the government wasn't going to track him in his car. So a lot of people are thinking about it the other way. You know, if my vehicle is connected, you're watching me, and you're tracking my movements, and I don't want that. So while an automated vehicle is supposed to follow the rules, a lot of the settings will be user modifiable. So you could clearly change it, right, to follow your rules instead of the preset rules. Who gets the ticket is the better question. If my automated vehicle, God forbid, is in a crash, who's at fault? Am I at fault as the owner of the vehicle? Is Ford at fault as the manufacturer of the vehicle? Maybe I modified something. Nobody modifies their vehicle after they buy it, right? Will we have rules about modifying the software? How do you certify the software? What's a safety inspection look like? There are tons of questions, policy questions, that still exist around automated vehicles that are really, really important. The lack of revenue probably isn't one anyone. You know, though, I saw a slide recently. See, now you made me think of something. Here's another unintended consequence. This is a little bit gruesome. Where do you suppose the most organ donations come from? Automobile crashes in general, vehicular crashes. If vehicles stop crashing, what happens to the organ supply? Horrible way to think about it. I mean, that's a good thing, right? We're saving lives, but we're losing them in another area. It's not something I would have ever thought about, but certainly maybe a reality we someday face. Still, I think a happy reality, but a struggle nonetheless. Maybe we'll spur innovation in the medical field to create fake organs. I don't know. Yeah?
So actually, in a more real time than maybe AV, across Europe and in other places, variable speed limits where you take care of congestion. Are you looking at anything like that in Virginia?
Yes. So we actually had a variable speed limit. We have two. Well, we have one now. We had a variable speed limit deployment on I-66 in Northern Virginia, and it was designed to deal with congestion, recurring congestion. Now, again, Northern Virginia, aggressive drivers, nobody paid attention to our speed limits. You know, if we said slow down to 45, and they could do 55, they did 55, which meant that harmonization we were trying to achieve, we never saw any benefit from. The difference between what they're able to do in Europe and what we were able to do here is enforcement. In Virginia, not true in every state, in Virginia we cannot do automated enforcement. Our legislature won't allow it, and so we have no mechanism to enforce variable speed limits. We actually have to tell people that they are advisory speeds, and nobody takes our advice. I don't know why. We do have a variable speed limit system on I-77 in Fancy Gap. If any of you have traveled that way, it's a very fog-prone area. And we have installed a VSL system there for safety. And people are much better at following our advice there because they know there's a reason. If we're telling them to slow down and we're telling them that there is fog, if they've been through there before, they know we're not kidding. And so they're much more likely to take our advice. They don't come all the way down to our posted speed, but they do reduce their speed. So we, and probably most of you know, in Virginia we have a statewide contract for both controllers and a central system now. We have always been a state that every district did their own thing, right? We like that. We like to be our own people. But we're going statewide now, and one of the advantages of that for me as an advocate of connect and automated vehicles is that we'll be able to do our SPAT work much more consistently now across the state. And one of the requirements for the new controllers was that they be capable of broadcasting SPAT. So we're pretty excited about that. Yes?
I had a question about the mixed fleet issue. I'm sure you guys have thought about just tons of ways to help with that phase, which I'm sure will last years. But I guess my question is, has the idea of using like HOV style lanes for connected vehicles
Great question. Yeah.
as an option to help with that, or just
Yes. So I think one of the first places we'll begin to see true automated operation is in managed lanes. So like in Northern Virginia, where we have the express lanes, that may be a requirement someday. If you want to operate in automated mode, you need to do it in these lanes, or vice versa. If you want to use these lanes, you must have this capability in your vehicle. The whole idea of a mixed fleet is troubling, obviously. Do we teach the cars to not follow the rules, or do we teach the drivers to follow the rules? We've tried that, and that doesn't work. But we don't want to teach an automated vehicle to be like a human driver. The whole point is for them to be better. So I think separating them, at least initially, will be where we see the biggest benefit, or in low-speed applications where those differences aren't as pronounced. Great question, though. So we are partnering with our express lane provider, Transurban, in Northern Virginia for a lot of our testing.
Does anywhere in Virginia already have the low-speed automated vehicles like Ollie? Anywhere?
Virginia Tech is in the process of procuring several, I believe. They don't actually physically have them yet. We're working with a number of localities who have concepts of operation, pretty well developed in at least one case. So hopefully in the next year, yes, but right now, no. Anybody here have one? Anybody been in one? Yeah. But not here in the room. Yes?
How would you plan on handling deployment of infrastructure in maybe rural cities that are not interested in participating? Great
question. So one of the challenges with connected vehicles. Now, all right, so I use the term automated very deliberately because for me there's a difference between autonomous and automated. So when I talk about automated, I'm talking about that connected automation that does require an infrastructure component. Autonomous vehicles, maybe not. The Uber, for example, doesn't require anything from the infrastructure to operate. So in terms of autonomous operation, they don't need us. I believe to really maximize safety, we need that connectivity. Because even an automated vehicle can't see around corners. Horizontal or vertical curvature, still a problem. When we can provide that connectivity, we provide a much richer context for that vehicle to operate in. So I believe connectivity is really important. The question of how we do that is still up in the air. So if we're relying on DSRC, that means deployment of roadside devices everywhere, right? That's hard for a DOT to think about. We're spending a lot of money on devices that now we're going to have to maintain. So we got to put away more money to maintain them. And my chief engineer will say, you know how many lane miles I can pave with that money? So it's always a struggle. There very well may be some places where we have connected automation and some places where we're just autonomous. It very well may be. The problem, though, as you can imagine, how does an autonomous vehicle navigate? Anybody know? Striping is a big one. How many unmarked roads do you have in your state? All right, my Virginia friends, how many miles of unmarked pavement do we have? A lot. We have a lot of gravel roads in Virginia. Dirt roads, right. That's a problem. So if I don't have striping, I gotta have darn good GPS and some really good maps, really up-to-date maps, maps that reflect that realignment that happened during the floods this summer, maps that take into account the lane closure on I-81 that's there today, gone tomorrow. But the GPS can also be a problem. Tennessee, like Virginia, has some beautiful mountains, right? GPS sometimes has trouble. And so there's some challenges still out there. Good question, though. And in states where, in Virginia, the state operates and maintains almost all of the roadways, statewide, other than in cities and a couple of counties that chose to take their roads back. A lot of states, the road maintenance goes to the counties, where there are even bigger financial struggles. So it's going to be unequal growth. Other questions? Yeah.
I just had another one. You touched on roads that aren't managed or anything like that. What about state-to-state solutions? Obviously, you guys seem to be ahead of most other states that are going to be around you with the connectivity and everything like that. Has there been any talks about solutions for collaboration in that metropolitan area or anything like that? Or
so I have a couple of different takes on your question, and I hope one of my answers will get at what you're asking. So one is things like the Connected Vehicle Pool Fund study are really important for states to share experiences and lessons learned and talk about issues that are common. AASHTO also has working groups that are helping states come together and talk about different aspects of this growing environment. And then there's a group that met yesterday, actually. It's the IOOEM group, Infrastructure Owner Operator, OEM, Original Equipment Manufacturer. So the car folks and the state folks. You talk about an interesting conversation. When we first started meeting, car folks and state folks, we talked like this. We talked, they talked, and we didn't hear each other. at all. One of the best examples, and I'm probably way over my time, but I just want to share this because it's a cool story, and it illustrates the problem of different perspectives. So we were talking about variable speed limits, and we were talking about how we wanted to be able to communicate with vehicles to tell them the speed we wanted them to travel at to keep everybody moving. And this car guy says to me, "We gotcha, we do queue warning." I said, queue warning is not the same thing. End of queue warning, not just queue warning, end of queue warning. So they're gonna warn me, hey, hit the brakes now, the car in front of you is stopping. That is not the point of variable speed limits, right? We wanna catch them before they hit that point, because otherwise we got the shock wave and we've lost it. We've lost it for the entire peak period once that happens. But they thought end of queue warning was the same thing as speed harmonization. To them, it was. They only care about keeping their car from crashing. We care about keeping everybody moving. So those kinds of conversations are really, really important. And it's important for all of the states together to have that conversation, because car manufacturers have a lot of weight in the discussion already. And unless we come together and all speak with one voice, they outweigh us 10 times. So that's another part of the question. The final answer I'll give you, and it may have absolutely nothing to do with the question you asked, is security. So you've had a number of sessions in your training part about cybersecurity. As you can imagine, cybersecurity in a connected and automated vehicle world, hugely important. And how we deal with cybersecurity is really important. We have to have a system that's the same across the country. I can't leave Virginia and come into Tennessee and have a different security solution, or else my car doesn't work when I leave Virginia and come into Tennessee. So developing those standards, really, really important. But also the data that we exchange, it may not always be the same. Your application for signal timing may be different than mine, but we have to have the same dictionary, so that when I say red interval, it means the same thing in Virginia that it means in Tennessee. So establishing a common security platform and establishing a common language for all the data we want to exchange, whether it's a Ford or a Toyota or in Virginia or in Tennessee, that we're all talking the same language is what will be required for this to work at a national level. We won't even talk about Canada and Mexico. Europe has a much bigger problem, too many borders, but it'll be challenging enough here. Thank you.